Hi, lovely junk journalers. I'm so excited to be part of this wonderful collab by RachandBella Crafts. It's called Bee Summer Inspired, Bee as in B-E-E. And those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope you're getting some beautiful sun at the moment. I'm in rainy Wales in the UK, so it comes and goes. But when we do get that sun, it is beautiful. And I did notice the bees a couple of days ago playing with my thyme and oregano, some of my herbs that are flowering, and it's wonderful to see the bees. Who doesn't love bees? Yeah. So in this collab, there's a whole group of us junk journal lovers that just doing this because we just love it so much, and we are all given a letter, and my letter is I. So you're definitely going to be seeing inks in this. And RachandBella Crafts, they have given a wonderful 40% off the kits at the moment. Well, I'll have the links in the description. There's a code, I think, and such. But look in the description. You'll find the links to RachandBella Crafts. You'll find the links to the kits, and you'll also find the links to all the other collaborators, all their YouTube accounts that you can go visit. So there's a whole trail of us that you can go and visit. Please go give them some love. There's wonderful things happening, and it's so fun to follow along with each of us. So okay, so let's begin. So I've got 2 background papers printed out. You can use whatever you like. I'm using these 2. These are from the Truly Blue kit, and I just thought this was a really nice one to use for if you're a beginner, or if if you are not a beginner but maybe don't have a lot of time, or want to fuss a lot. Everything is sort of lined up perfectly to what I'm making here for the fold lines, and you don't have to do any extra measuring or working out. So yeah, I just thought that was a nice choice, and it is a gorgeous paper anyway. This beautiful little bird here, oh, I love him. And then just a really simple sort of ledger paper type. I just want a bit of type. We're not going to see this too much, so I didn't want to just use a gorgeous paper under there, but I wanted a bit of interest, so not a big deal. But when this is going to be folded, I'm going to be able to see the script rather than this blank area here. So yeah, it's just keeping that in mind, that this middle area is the interesting bit. If there's the one that's going to be showing, and it's more going to be the top that's going to be showing. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm just going to put down some under paper for my gluing, and I'm going to use some gel medium. The reason I'm using gel medium is partly because it glues down really well, but also because it's a large area. Otherwise, I love my glue sticks. Okay, you know, these A4 or letter size pages, it's a lot to glue down, and a glue stick can be a little bit ridiculous. So I'm spreading it out a little bit anyway. I'm taking my card. So this isn't just convenient in spreading a large amount of glue, it's going to stop some of the warping and buckling that paper can do when you glue it. Having said that, I don't mind warping and buckling and all that, because I like the grungy look. My journal is, you know, the story behind it is it's well read, well used by a travelling person, and so, you know, it gets messy, it gets warped. So you do have to work a little bit fast with gel medium compared to other glues, but it will stick really lovely. Okay, so I just line up one side and the bottom. That's what you have to look at. You don't have to worry about the rest of it. The rest of it will take care of itself. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm just going to use my hands to push it outwards. And I'm going to give it a few minutes, at least 5 minutes. I'm just going to step away, do something else. So now I've got some gesso. And this gesso is white. You can use transparent gesso as well. But my white gesso is extremely thin, so that's why I'm using it. You'll see when I apply it that it barely covers anything at all, especially if I apply it quite thinly. If you don't want to, and I like the fact that I'm pushing some of this back anyway, because that's what I want. I don't want it to look like a printed page. I want it to have a bit of a, just a difference, you know, not everything showing perfectly. However, if you don't want to push anything back at all, then some transparent gesso is brilliant. I have that as well, but I did want this effect. And it's a great opportunity to push something right back if you really find it a bit too dark or something. So the way I'm applying it is I'm not covering the, I'm choosing little areas here and there. Actually, I want a bit more, so I'm going to get my transparent one. Okay, so the areas where I didn't put the white, I'm going in a little bit. Now, I'm sort of having fun with it and putting it here and there, not covering everything. You don't have to do this step at all. This is, I'm doing it because the effect that I want. So a lot of the times when we use distress oxide inks, we use them on cards, and I always found that really frustrating. Not frustrating, but very limiting. And the problem with using distress inks on paper is that paper is absorbent, and you don't get the wonderful effect, the wonderful oxidizing effect. It's not that you don't get it, but it doesn't stand out as much than when you use it on card. And because that's the reason. The reason for that is because card has a smooth sort of coating on it, and it doesn't absorb the ink or the water so much. And that's the problem with paper. It absorbs everything, and you don't quite get the same look. So my solution was, well, make that surface. So that's why I put gesso on it. Now this is going to take a little while to dry. Now if you were thinking, why don't I just use card for this, it's partly I don't want it to be so heavy and so thick, because this will be folded inside, you know, inside the journal, inside a couple of pages, so it can get really bulky if it was card. Secondly, I don't have that sort of card. I have light card that I use for tags and such, which is just matte. But it's not, it's only card in the sense that it's like heavy paper, but not that nice shiny card that will get the inks working in that certain way. So that's the reasons, in case you're wondering. So I've got 3 colours here from the Distress Oxide range and my blenders. So I'm going to get a little bit of broken china in here. And I'm just going to find little areas that I might want it in. Well, that I want a little bit of colour maybe. And I can feel it. I can feel my gesso. So I know areas to go in. Then the tea dye. Okay, so it's already looking different, isn't it? We haven't lost the beautiful paper underneath, but it's getting a bit of personality now. Now it's having something to say. Okay, so now I grab one of my misters, and you don't want anything that has a fine mist. You want something with a bit of, you know, droplets. If you don't have that, then a brush and some water. It's a great option for some larger droplets. And I'm pretty much covering the whole paper, but you don't want to, you know, to be soaking, because what I want is that distress effect. I want those dots and things. Too much water is going to make it all run together. Grab some kitchen towel. Now the effect is subtle, so you may not see too much on the video, and it is ink that you can go back to, so if you feel there's some areas could do with a bit more, and by all means go back. So the Distress Oxide ink effect that we all come to know and love. I've got it now on my paper. And in the areas, if I did have ink but I didn't have gesso, it hasn't worked as well. Especially down here. Yeah, it's like I can't really see those mottled areas at all. Now, it's up to you what sort of look you want. I don't mind these sort of lines, or, you know, if you want a perfectly blended area background, then you really have to be careful on and getting those nice, really soft blends. I'm not bothered about that. To me, this is just part of the look. Okay, so stage 1 or 2 or whatever we're up to, that one's done. So if you are happy that it's dry, then we can do, you know, the same thing again, or we can just go for a different sort of look and just, you know, make it vintagey in areas in a mottled sort of way. So I'm happy with that so far. As you can see, it's still the glorious paper that it was at the beginning. I haven't, make sure I've not covered that bird too much. Actually, I probably should cover it a little bit, make it a little bit more integrated. But we've now making it our own, putting our own personality into it. Okay, so let's start folding. The easiest thing to do, even though this is going to be folded like this way, it'll be easier to fold this way first and then you can fold it back. So you can see the line there. We're just going to get a fold in there. Super easy. Line it up on the side just to help you get that straight. Find. Just keep an eye on your side and you should be good to go. Okay, and now I'll do it nice and firm because this is my proper fold. Okay, and this one same again, line it up on the side and start to get to that fold that we see there. See what I mean by making it easier for you? It's already there. Okay, so you will see that this paper sticks out here and this sticks out here, which is what I want. That's why this was absolutely perfect. You could do one that you measured and make sure you have thirds, exact thirds, and then fold like that, and then you'll have completely aligned to each other. But I love this because I love things overlapping and things sticking out and seeing other stuff. I mean, how nice it is just to see even that there, but it's completely up to you, of course. Okay, now what you do here on the edge is completely up to you and what supplies you have. If you only have a circle punch, then by all means just do that. You make a half circle there in the middle and it just makes a sort of interesting opening that you can get to as well. I'm sure you've seen it on a lot of other videos. If you have a border stamp, sorry, border punch, then by all means use one of those. If you have border dies, I have some border dies, but I'm not going to fuss with that today. I'm just going to make one of these. There we are, just a little pretty border, nice and easy. Okay, so now I want to grunge up my edges, and you can do this with a scissors, nice and easy. If you don't have a paper distresser, which I don't have. I have a serrated knife. It's not too sharp at all, but do be careful if you do use something like that. You can keep it folded up, which is easier to hold, and just start going for it. You can rip sections off completely. So before I go any further, I'm going to check with my journal and have a look to see where I'm going to put it in and if it fits how I want it to fit. So this is my current boho journal, and it's not even slightly filled, but it's already getting chunky. This is going to be like this. It's not going to close. Oh, this one looks good, nice and plain. Yes, I think it's going to go here. No. So because I'm using this particular papers with this lovely bird on there, and because it is so wide, I'm going to put it on the left hand side. I've done other ones where they're much thinner, and if I hadn't thinner, you could also have them on the right hand side and have pockets there, which is also really nice and fun as well. I do like having pockets on the inside. Okay, so I have lots of different size pages, as you can see, so I have no problem with this being not the exact size of this page. However, it's longer than every other page I have, so I'm going to cut some off. And before you do it, cut anything off, decide which you're happy to lose. I want to keep that text, I think, so I'm happy to lose a little bit more of the bottom. And you could have measured it first, obviously, to see, make sure that it's going to fit on your page, but I sort of tend to go by, I don't know, by whim, by feel, not by whim, but it's how, what I've created, how it feels and what it looks like to where I want it to fit. It might just go on a paid page, but it might go where something else is already there and it works with that. So I don't want to limit myself immediately. So continue with your tea dye if you have very light coloured pages or you want a more subtle look. I've got here walnut stain in distress ink, not oxide. There's no need for the oxide, you can't use oxide, it makes no difference. And I want a really defined edge, so I'm going to use this darker ink. And first and foremost, I want to make sure that I'm getting rid of any white edges, because we sort of opened up the paper grain with our scissors or knife or whatever however you distressed and tore your paper up. And I also do the folds, because that's how old paper would often age as well. You would have the folds. And you can see I'm doing it very roughly, because I don't sit there and just want this really sharp edge, which I accidentally got there by showing you. You get more ink on one bit, less on another. That's what I want. Nice and uneven. Gives it a much more natural sort of edgy look. I'm sort of doing two at once here, which could be risky, but it's working. Okay, and then I might just go back in and just refine it, especially the really torn bits, making sure they're done. And I'll go in to the paper a little bit. What's happened, when paper is aged or used or read by several hands and passed around, it's not going to be uniform. So things can just start looking too uniform if you worry too much. Okay, so there's two things you can do here. I'm going to be making pockets. So you can do this with 3 even pockets, or you can do it with 2 uneven pockets, one small one out there and this large one here. I kind of like both. Okay, so there's a couple of things you can do. You can sew along here. You can create some you know, inky lines or something. You can do some faux stitching. If you have stitch stamps, which I love using these, you know, if you follow me, you know I love these with my scraps diary and such. This is by Rubber Dance. She has a few stitchy ones there. Or if you have a sewing machine, you can go ahead and sew with your sewing machine. You can even do it by hand, because we've done 2 papers here and it's only the section here. That's all I'm really looking at stitching. You can stitch around the entire thing, which also will look, you know, great as well. It totally is up to you and what feel you want at the end of it. I'm sort of making it look more like I'm not wanting it necessarily to look like one uniform piece exactly. It's almost like that's its own thing, and yet it's all attached and goes together. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but if this was all stitched all the way around, yeah, that's not quite what I'm going for. But absolutely do what you know, whatever feels good to you. I know a lot of us love stitching. So I'm going to go ahead and at least stitch there to get my 2 separate pockets. Okay, so I've just done a simple line. Well, I say simple. The first stitch line that I did came out perfectly, too perfectly. I don't want perfectly in my journals. I like things being a little grungy, a little something. So I actually went over it again on it with a wonkier stitch. Guaranteed, if I was trying to do something perfectly, it wouldn't work. But there we are. So bits of thread hanging out. So of course, you know, it's a faux pocket. I'm not stitching anything particularly. I'm not creating a pocket as such. I'm just creating the idea that this is stitched on the page. Okay, so for this inside bit, I'm going to put some fabric, some nice bohemian fabric. Obviously, do yours vintagey, whatever fabric you like. I'm going to make sort of like a tuck spot inside. That's an amazing colour. I want something a bit wider. This one here, I think. It's a little simpler, but it's lovely and wide. Yes, perfect. So this would be nice and simple, just a bit of fabric tack there. Okay, so when applying glue to fabric, careful not to go too close to the edge, otherwise you're going to have problems when you're closing it. Leave like maybe 1 or 2 millimeters. It's always something you watch if you're making anything that's foldable. It's just watch your edges a little bit. You know, you could always double check. So that closes just lovely. Just gives it a little bit of breathing space. Fantastic. How's that for an easy tuck spot in there? So here at the front we have a not so interesting area, and that's great, that's fine, because we're going to decorate this a little bit more. Okay, so I cut out ephemera from both the Truly Blue kit and the summer kit, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I've just been edging it all, and you don't want to see that boring, you know what I'm doing. And then I've got this sort of grungy stamp. It's just literally like spots, uneven spots like dirt. I absolutely love it. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what set that came with. I just have, but they have this, like, if you can see the close-up, if that shows okay, this sort of speckled dirt type thing, and it's just that's getting your ephemera looking a little older, a little worse for wear, much loved, travelled, things being stained. So the walnut ink is looking nice on these more vintagey ones, and the tea dye distress ink is looking nice on the summery one. It's a more sort of orangey brown, so that looks well with that. A little bit loved, and loved as in, you know, they've been read well and passed about and kept for years, decades maybe. They had story and oh, there we go. Yeah, they're not all just brand new out of your printer. Tea dye, distress ink, a little fan brush. Okay, so I've got everything up lovely and stained. Just that one there is still a little drying. And just going to get everything nice and crinkly and used. So I've moved over to voiceover and speeding up the video a little bit because otherwise we're going to be here for at least another hour while I make the ephemera. So I think you'll appreciate this much more. So here I am I'm just, inking things up and making them look older and roughing them up and tearing them. This one's an ephemera of a little envelope, so I do like to make it look envelopey, which is like we tend to fold our envelopes, don't we, sometimes? So I made a crease there and inked it up. And here I am just gluing this little tag onto the front as a tuck spot. And I like the idea of not an ordinary looking tuck spot, it just looks like it's going to look like just two tags on there, almost hovering on there. So I like traditional looking tuck spots, but I also like things that are doubling up as something else. Just getting some lovely ribbon there. This isn't Sarah ribbon, it's just ribbon. Lots of lovely little colours I've got, and this blue just goes perfectly with this summer inspired kit and the Trilly blue kit. Again, just roughing everything up. And here I put a little bit of cotton, just for a little bit of variety. Lovely, I'm happy with that. And just want a little bit more aging up there at the top. So a little more distress ink splattered about. And I'm just going to glue down this section, nice and easy, just the two ends. And you can always glue a little bit towards the top to make it a pocket rather than one opening. The way I stitched, you could do a similar sort of area and make a small pocket at the top and a small pocket at the bottom. So why not? But I do have the larger envelopes to go in, so I'm leaving it at the large area. I was really struggling with my crocodile here. I don't know what was happening with it, but I need to look into it because it wasn't performing very well. So these are just scraps of fabric. I have a whole drawer of just scraps that end up from other projects. This one is from the cover of my journal, so it sort of integrates and goes well with it. But scraps of fabric will always come in handy. So if you have a little area in your studio, in your art space that you can keep, even if it's just one bowl or an entire drawer, if you can keep your scraps, they'll always come in handy to go somewhere. So I'm going to pop this insert now into my journal, and I'm just inking this little area up that shows through, just to make it go with the rest of it and not to be completely blank and boring. And don't forget you only need to glue 3 sides, but don't forget that stitchy area. That's going to make it a pocket. Just putting that magazine there so I can sort of squish it down more without hurting anything underneath. And there we are, really. And now the fun bit. Oh, don't you just love this bit? Where you get to put all your lovely little ephemera in. I love curating. I love putting things together, which I think is part of my love of junk journaling. Just putting lovely pieces together and how they would look together, how somebody might actually be using this journal, putting their envelopes in. They've had, correspondence with somebody, keepsakes. Lovely. And then just spontaneously, I thought, you know what? There's a little space there. I'm going to add that little girl there. Little postcards. I printed them out mini, so they're like little mini postcards, which are super cute. How's that? Really nice. Super happy with that. And there we are, easy peasy, nothing complicated in this one. The beautiful papers speak for themselves, and the little additions that we've made just helps it integrate and makes it more our own. And of course we can keep adding. This is a nice big pocket here, so I've got this one here, but I can add another there. I can add a few more bits in here, possibly something else in there. And I've got so many journaling spots now. It's fantastic. I can add, something on top of this, like you saw me earlier, I think, trying that out. So I can add more there, but yeah, it's fine as it is. Just an extra little insert. And using our inks, getting to know them. But definitely these little kids, these little girls are just adorable, and what summer sort of makes me think of it. Love these bees. And don't forget, look in the description box, and the whole list of all the other participants are in there. So much wonderfulness to come, and has been already and will come. So yes, do join us. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.